Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody whose boyfriend won't call her beautiful, in addition to like a bunch of other things. But before we dig in, we want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
No, we are not professionals. We are not trained in this. So please take our advice as you see fit. We are only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love and or dating. So today's letter comes to us from Always Nice, Never Beautiful, whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing to us from a lonely place. Dear Sam and Sierra, TLDR, my boyfriend won't call me beautiful even on request. The backstory is the fact that my current partner, he, him, let's call him Jack, told me in a pretty insensitive and unnecessary move that his long-term ex-girlfriend was a model. I really struggled with this. The context of him telling me was my asking if a girl on his Instagram was an ex, him telling me that she was just a friend's girlfriend, and me saying, I'm relieved she's not your ex because she's really pretty and I felt intimidated. To which he responded, well, I definitely won't show you a picture of my real ex then. I found it hard not to interpret that as him saying I should be intimidated by her. I already did feel intimidated knowing how much he loved her and how long they were together. It was a 6-year relationship that ended 10 years ago, but only because she found work on the other side of the world and had to move. He already mentioned her a couple times, never referring to her as his ex, but instead the girl I fell in love with. I asked him if he'd loved any other girls he had dated since, and he said he hadn't. I asked if he's still not over this long ago ex, and he said, I don't think you ever really get over your first love. Though I later did a survey of my friends and told him that they were all over their first loves. And he backtracked and insisted he meant in a different way. I'm not over any of my exes, but just because they were nice people and I miss them in my life is what he said. Mm-hmm. All of this is deeply concerning to me because it seems like he may very well still be romanticizing this long ago relationship, and I'm worried about his ability to love me if he's never loved anyone since. Toxic. Oops. Toxic move, I know, asked him if she was more attractive than me, and he refused to compare us, but conceded that she was indeed very beautiful. Okay, this letter is going to get a lot worse, but I just want to pause here and say that is a toxic move because you know what the outcome is. Like, you can't, there's no, so just take notes, pals. Don't do that. Because it's impossible. It is very possible to rate people, but it's... Go ahead.
It is really possible to respond to that question in a way that is helpful. And this man did not.
Yeah. And at some point, Sierra had to learn how to stop asking these questions because
so
I fucking never liked what I heard. And it never affirmed me the way my anxiety wanted to be affirmed. That's the mid-letter call out that I have to say is that those toxic questions that we know are toxic, that we just need to ask because we just want to soothe our little wounds, never soothes them. It never soothes them. And also respond accordingly, you assholes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. My already low self-esteem plummeted and my body dysmorphia has kicked back in tenfold. I've since spent the past few weeks driving myself crazy trying to desperately to find a photo of her online with literally nothing to go on except the brand she modeled for and the country she moved to. I don't even know her name. Oh my God, I would 100% do that. I would do it. I would do it, man. I would scroll for hours. I would cut them out and make little dolls. How would you even know
if you found her? It's just
I don't know. She's wearing a I love your ex-boyfriend t-shirt.
Yeah, there it is. Absolutely. I still love Jack. Just emblazoned on her forehead.
Yeah. Every time I shop online, I look at the models rather than the clothes and wonder, is that her? Did she look like that? Also, another mid-letter timeout. I 100% do this. Like, in my mind, my spouse's exes all look like rugged yet feminine LL Bean models. You know what I mean? Like,
Legit. That makes sense to me.
yeah,
I could imagine that being true.
It's not true. Isn't that wild though? It's not true. She, like, my spouse, like, legitimately doesn't have a type, and every single one of her exes looks 100% different than the next ex.
Oh, that's funny.
But it is like this morbid fantasy, like, self-harm that we do, where we're like, the hottest person I know is dirt next to my fantasized about the exes of my current.
Sure.
I really ruined that joke, but what I'm trying to say is, like, the hottest person we know doesn't even compare to the imagination of us about our, our partner's exes. Okay. Anyway.
That's funny. I'm like, when I think about Peter's exes, I'm like, yeah, they probably looked really dorky because, like, that's his type. So,
oh my God, you are.
It's like, yeah.
Funny.
I don't know. He's dating a dork, so he probably dated other dorks previously. Like, I don't.
Oh my God. Continuing, the letter writer writes, I talked it through with my therapist and decided that the real issue was my own insecurity in the relationship itself. We've been together for only 3 to 4 months, depending on whether you count talking nonstop online before actually meeting up. And things have been extremely turbulent since our very first date. The turbulence in a nutshell, I found out that he lied about his age and freaked out a little that he was 2 years older than I thought He got mad at me for being upset and said he needed time to think about whether he wanted to see me again because he, quote, wanted a peaceful person in his life. And I was bringing, quote, drama. He said he'd message the next day, but he didn't. So I sent a lengthy message to tell him I felt like I had been gaslit and that he was wearing a mask. And he got really angry at the message. We somehow made up, but he's never been able to get over the message and has since ended things more times than I can count over tiny things like me cooking a bad meal or finishing off the shower gel. Additional side note, I know.
Whew,
I hope y'all hear yourself in this letter, because I'm hearing myself. I'm hearing the list of things I could write about an ex that I stuck around for, and it's embarrassing. Not that
That's
you
real.
and I should be embarrassed, but that, like, I hope y'all are hearing the lengths to which we go to convince a mediocre person to stay with us.
You said it. You said it.
Okay, here we go. Additional side note. I found out only recently that he's still lying about his age and is actually 4 years older than I thought. That's a red flag
Love
to me.
that. Absolutely. What a stupid
That's a
thing to
red
lie
flag
about.
more than anything else. It's like, why?
Why are you lying about this? And then when you got caught, why are you lying about it again? Like, it's just so
Do you
inconsequential.
know who lied about their age?
Your most recent ex?
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Not to me. Not to me, but to somebody else. Like, after we had, like, a first little fling years ago, and
When he
like,
lied about having cancer?
Yes. Same timeline. Yep. Same timeline. He apparently told his other girlfriend at the time that he was, like, 8 years older than he actually was because he was, like, 20 at the time, and she was, like, definitely in her late 30s. Anyway. So, anyway, the letter writer writes, for all those reasons, I've been pretty insecure. I call him my boyfriend, but I have no idea if that's what he is. He says it sometimes, and other times he says we're just, quote, seeing each other. He's asked before if he can see other people, which I've said I'm not comfortable with. He's since agreed not to see other people and says he hasn't been with anyone since our first date. But the last time we saw each other, he said he's still, quote, curious about what's out there because he wants to, quote, meet his person, which kind of sucks to hear. I've decided that it's my job to work on my self-esteem, but I really need more affirming from him too. I've asked him on multiple occasions to pay me more frequent and better compliments. He tells me I, quote, look nice, but will check out other girls and say that they're really pretty or even incredibly beautiful. He says it's shitty of me to pressure him into telling me I'm beautiful, that he doesn't like to be forced to say things, and that I need to be patient. But he used to call me beautiful all the time. I don't understand why this is so difficult. Surely every girl needs to be told this. I tell him how handsome he is all the time. In our last text exchange last night, he told me, I want to go back to looking forward to seeing you. And I told him, I always look forward to seeing you, but I want to go back to feeling like I can talk to you about anything. He replied simply, this is breaking me, and we haven't talked since. Maybe I need too much reassurance. Maybe I ask too many questions about his exes, but I never wanted to talk about exes. I didn't need to know that the love of his life was a model. I still don't see why it's so hard to tell the girl that you're with that she's beautiful. Does any of this seem salvageable? Do you have any advice for how I can move forward with healthier communication? I really want to go back to just getting along. I like this guy so much. I sometimes want to tell him I love him. I feel like if he'd only be willing to listen and talk things through and empathize a little bit more, we'd be okay. But this guy, quote, hates deep conversation, and I feel like he can only tolerate me when I'm happy, and increasingly, I just feel sad. I can't fucking wait. I can't fucking wait to get into this one. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. Always nice and never beautiful that you are in such a uncomfortable position with this trash can of a man. And I am sorry that he is inflicting this level of harm on you. And I read your letter and I feel so much empathy and sort of pain in the fact that you're taking the way that this man is treating you and internalizing it as somehow your problem. And Sierra and I are going to sort of call out some of the big red flags and troubling behavior that this man is exhibiting towards you. But before we do that, I just want to hold you in this, right? It is not your fault that this man is treating you so poorly, right? It is not your self-esteem. It's not your jealousy, right? And I think that there's a space for us to talk about what it looks like for you to work on your self-esteem, to challenge some of these ideas around jealousy. And I think that that work that you can do needs to come in a place that feels safe and stable and is fertile ground for that type of self-work. And this man is not a place where that ground is fertile. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we think are troubling about this man's behavior. And also we're going to talk with you and big you up around all of the different ways that you are deserving of a beautiful love, that you are a beautiful, beautiful person, regardless of whether or not this man will tell you. And hopefully, leave you feeling like you have the power to decide what and how this relationship looks like and whether or not you want to be in it. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break.
All right, my darling. Thank you so much for writing and trusting us with this letter and being patient during my many interruptions while reading your letter. I want to talk about a couple things today, just bullet pointing them. I want to talk about what does healthy communication look like when you're talking about something potentially triggering, like exes, right? What does that look like in future relationships? I want to talk about why we're prioritizing the idea of this man over the actual physical facts of this relationship. Like why you're doing so much work and how tiring that work can be in such an early relationship, right? And I want to talk about exes in general. Which one do you want to go into first? I feel like the middle topic is the most affirming. Like, why are we wasting time on people?
That's real.
It's not that you're wasting time. I'm TLDRing it. I feel like this person, Sam, in his notes, when we review letters and pick them, Sam just wrote, "This man is trash." And I'm not saying he's trash. Like we've all been in different points of our fucking ability to be available. But I don't think this man is trash because he dated a model. I don't think this man is trash because he has a history with other people and that he finds other people attractive. Like,
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
there's something to be learned here, which is, one, you're never going to meet somebody with a blank dating history or neutral preferences for other people. You're never going to meet somebody who doesn't find other people beautiful. And for a lot of people, my past self included, that was really threatening and uncomfortable because, like you said, it would just, like you, the letter writer, wrote, it would just trigger my low self-esteem. And I would desperately seek out chances for that person to prove or disprove their attraction to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, do you think I'm more attractive than this person? Is a trap that your anxiety thinks is either going to soothe you or somehow prove the inevitable hidden thing that you know about yourself, but nobody else knows, which is that you're undesirable. Do you know what I mean? Like that, that sort of like, question. We think it's going to soothe our anxiety, but our deep fear is that it's going to prove our anxiety. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the more the healthier, actually soothing thing to do is to say, I'm feeling insecure. How can I make myself feel desirable, worthy, beautiful, lovable without having somebody else have to prove that, or having this little game in which one person is more beautiful than another person and therefore they are higher, like that. It's never going to work is what I'm trying to say. It's never going to work. It's reasonable why we do it. I've done it. I've been a part of that. I was afraid of Willow's fucking LL Bean exes forever, even though they were non-existent, Yeah, I get it. And also, even though Sam and I want you to break up with this trash man, your next relationship is going to have a history too. So how are you going to get comfortable with the discomfort of other people's history? And this man does have some trash red flags, trash behaviors.
Yes, I think all of that is true. And their relationships can be safe spaces to open up our insecurities and be affirmed.
Yes.
It is okay for that to happen.
This is not a you, like it is a you issue, and it's also just like generally not a you issue.
If Peter met one of my exes and said to me, "I'm feeling really insecure because it seems like your ex is so much more attractive than me," my immediate response would be to say, "Oh my God, you are beautiful. You are so handsome.
All of these
I am
things
with
about
you because
right.
I want to be with you," right? And it would not feel like an imposition on me. It would feel like an idea of, thank you so much for sharing how you're feeling about this, and let me support you, right? Like, let me say some of the things that might help assuage this anxiety. And it's not a burden, and I'm not like, oh God, figure that out for yourself, right? Because we're in a reciprocal relationship where we want to affirm and hold each other in our insecurities, right? Like, in the same way that I go to him and I say, like, I think all of our friends hate me, right? And he's like, they don't. They love you. Here are places, right? Like, those types of insecurities can be tended to by other people. They don't have to be 100% our own. And I think the issue here is that what's happening is that you're going to this man who seems, for whatever reason, incapable of holding your insecurities in a way that doesn't exploit them, right? And
yes.
And like, I want to be, what this man is doing to you is called negging. And whether he's doing it intentionally or unintentionally, the practice that he's using is leveraging your insecurities to keep you wanting more from him, right?
Yes.
Like, and the behavior in this is like textbook negging, like the thing where he's like, where literally this comment of like, oh, I shouldn't show you a picture of my ex because she's so beautiful, right? Of course, the implication is that you should be intimidated by her. You should compare yourself to her because she is so beautiful. She's so beautiful, you can't even see it because you're going to feel bad about yourself. What other interpretation of that are you supposed to have besides the fact that he wants you to compare yourself to her and find yourself lacking so that you have to do all of the work to try and convince him to be in a relationship with you, right? The stupid thing about lying about your age, where then he took his deceit and turned it back on you and said, you're crazy for calling me out on this lie. Classic negging, right? Prove to me you're not crazy now, right? I did a thing. I gaslit you. And now it's your job to prove to me that your reaction isn't valid, right? That you have shit to do. And also this other thing of breaking up with you every time you cook him a bad meal. What the fuck is that?
What the fuck is that?
Like, I'm like, my fingers are tingling right now because I'm so mad at this person. And this other thing where he's like refusing to say whether or not he wants to be in an exclusive relationship with you and telling you that he's still curious what's out there because he wants to meet his person.
Yeah.
This is negging. This is literally saying to you, prove to me that I should be with you. And I'm going to insult you in order to get you to try and tell me that I'm wrong about you, which is like, I don't want to say he's doing it intentionally, but maybe he has read the fucking book about it because there are many about them, right? But this type of behavior is deeply manipulative and it is deeply harmful. And I'm so sorry that he is doing this to you and that you are feeling like you need to respond to it in the way that he wants you to respond to it. But from an outsider's perspective, this man is not someone that you want to be in relationship with. What pains me deeply about this letter is that the question that you're asking us is, how do I have better self-esteem in this relationship?
So that
what this relationship is all about is undermining your self-esteem, right?
Right.
He's exploiting it. He is, again, intentionally or not, but literally there are books about this. Intentionally or not, he is exploiting your insecurities and then pointing the finger at you and saying, you're insecure. I don't need to do anything differently, but you are the one that is the problem here, which is absolutely not true. Like I said, before we went into the break, I would love to talk with you about what it looks like for you to build your self-esteem up because you are worthy of that, right? Like you are a deeply lovable and beautiful human. And I believe that absolutely. And I want you to see that. But like, I don't want you to find that so that you can somehow convince this man to want to be with you. And I don't want you to find that in an environment where the ground is falling out from under you constantly and that sense of self-doubt is being exploited by someone who wants to keep you in his pocket and control this relationship so that it works for him and in no way for you.
Yeah, I think everything you said is literally gospel as a agnostic person.
Yeah.
I also want to say that this letter pulls me in a lot of directions. Like in one paragraph, I'm like, oh my God, this guy is such trash. Like these are such red flags. You're working so hard to convince him to pay attention to you. You know what I mean? And so in one paragraph, I'm like, fuck this dude. And in the next paragraph, I also see underneath the field of red flags are these seeds of anxiety, seeds of low self-esteem, and, what I'm going to guess is an anxious attachment style. I have no fucking clue based off of the letter, but I often, in letters, like not just this one, but in general, I feel torn between being like, well, fuck this guy. He's obviously not giving you what you want, and saying in the next relationship, that's why I feel like I led with this idea of exes, in your next relationship, how can you create a secure and safe relationship with yourself in the weeds of anxiety and attachment and insecurity, and use that as fuel for, saying no to a relationship that is not very good.
the way to tap into your own self-esteem is to like get out of this relationship, right? To stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
The way to challenge your anxious attachment style is to stop repeating the patterns of trying to trick people into loving you and instead recognize you are worthy of a better love than this.
That's exactly right. There's no world in which you can feel secure and confident in yourself when you're with somebody who's constantly setting these traps for you and your insecurity and profiting off of it. And there's also no way for you to feel secure if the means in which you've been taught to get reassurance are feeding into his control of you, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And I'm sure that this dude would write into this podcast or would never listen to it. But I'm sure that he would
Dude,
write
if you're listening, get your fucking act together. I also just want to like make it really clear that I don't want you to take what Sierra and I are saying and use this as a weapon against yourself, right? Like to say like, oh God, how did I not see this? I am so stupid. Or, oh, but I still really like him. So I'm like a shit human who likes a trash man, right? Like, I don't want you to take this as some sort of evidence of your own flaws or your own like unlovableness, right? Like Sierra and I are saying these things to you, not because we think that there's something wrong with you and you need to fix yourself. We're saying this because you are so deserving of love and we want you to see that, right? We want you to be able to take a step outside of this and recognize the fact that you are worthy of a love that doesn't make you work this hard. And we know that it's hard in these situations to find ways to see clarity, to extricate yourself from the relationship, right? These types of relationships where the person is like giving you crumbs and those crumbs taste so delicious because you're otherwise starving is real. And Sierra and I have both been in relationships where that was true for both of us. So like, I deeply understand why this is happening and why you are in this place. And I think our invitation for you is not to say, oh, I'm a terrible person. I can't believe I'm letting this happen. And instead say, I want a love that's going to be affirming. I want a love where I say, I'm feeling not pretty today. And they respond, oh my gosh, I love you so much. You're so beautiful, right?
Yes.
That's not unreasonable. That is a relationship that is available to you outside of this man.
Yeah.
And so don't take this to beat yourself up with. Instead, take it as something to build yourself up with, because that is how we intend it.
Yeah. I feel like so often we get into these relationships with people who are, they drain our energy. They make us feel insecure about ourselves. They keep us on this back burner, but keep the heat up just enough to make us feel like we could potentially be the front burner one day.
Absolutely.
And it's so easy and natural for us to, instead of saying like, I don't really want to be someone's back burner, to say like, I need to prove what a front burner person I am.
That's real.
Or in this context, we just need to have the right conversation. He needs to hear me talk about my feelings in the right way, and then he will understand and he will change his behavior, or he will commit to me, or whatever. Like, it's something that I'm doing not well enough, and I just need to keep trying. And then one day it'll click for him, and he'll decide he wants to be with me. He'll decide that I'm beautiful. He'll decide that I'm deserving of hearing it. All of these things. But in reality, we have to say, is this person, as they are showing up right now in this moment, treating me the way in which I want to be treated, the ways in which I want my friend to be treated, the way I want my child to feel about themselves when they date? Like, am I being cared for in all of my human complexities, in all of my flaws? Yes. Do you need to continue to work on your self-esteem? We all do. Absolutely. That is the best gift that we could give to ourselves. And at the same time, is he treating you well? No. And why are we fighting for it? Why are we fighting for him to get his act together to therefore then prove something? it's
That's
so
true.
tricky. These relationships are so tricky because I still feel that way. I still feel this deep wound in me that wants to prove how lovable I am to the people that rejected me in the past or who never loved me the way that I wanted to be loved. But that's not on me. That's on them. That's their life path. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Before we sign off, I want to give you a couple examples of what this could look like, even in simple conversations with this person. Side note, I don't think you're going to get the answers or the response or the reciprocal energy from this person, right? But I think that you could, in the future, when the person says, you know, I don't know, I want to look for other people, or I'm still looking for my person, then you can say, I understand.
Good luck.
Have a great summer.
Don't know who would want to love you, but fine.
Okay, don't listen to Sam right now. Say, okay, that sounds like you are not considering me as your person while you actively date me, even if you don't call it dating. That makes me feel undervalued and disrespected, and I'm going to take my time, body, energy, and affection elsewhere, right? Mm-hmm. If he says if he blows up at you and ends things because he doesn't want to call you beautiful, then you can say, have a great time dating other people who need less than I do. I feel like I need a reasonable amount of affirmation, like fuck you, basically. I don't want you to take those notes as like, this person is not worth this. He's not worth this energy. He's not worth this insecurity, especially 3 to 4 months in. And I know that it can feel like giving up, but you're not giving up. You are moving forward. To me, it's not a defeat, right? Because the purpose of dating is to not make every, shaped puzzle piece fit, right? It's about finding the right puzzle piece. It's not about jamming that puzzle piece in until he fucking calls you beautiful. You already are beautiful. And the fact that he wants to withhold it is a fucking super red flag to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, my love, I am so sorry that you're in this pickle, right? Yeah. This sort of like cycle of you reaching out for love and him in withholding it. I almost
None
said
of it is fun.
Right? Mm-hmm. And again, I deeply understand and relate to how difficult it is to see outside of that cycle when you're in it. And at the end of the day, I think what Sierra and I just want you to know is that you are worthy of love that doesn't make you work this hard. You are worthy of being loved and affirmed. Absolutely. Your needs around having someone tell you that you are beautiful is not irrational or weird or silly.
Super reasonable.
Right? And the idea that you want to find places to affirm yourself, to have faith in your own beauty or competence or kindness or whatever it might be is absolutely understandable. And we are with you in that. And this is not the space for that, right? This is not a space that is conducive to you figuring out and finding what it looks like for you to find that confidence, to be able to tell yourself and assure yourself in that way, because there's somebody who's actively undermining that throughout this relationship. So we're with you, we're holding you in this, and we hope that you see that we love you, and we want you to find some place that's going to be able to be a fertile ground for you to do that self-love, that self-care that is so important.
Thank you so much for writing. We hope this helps.
Absolutely. We love you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more content from us, or if you would like to get episodes without ads, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as ad-free episodes on the main feed. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship meme, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcast and his music. And remember, love does take work. Relationships take work. They do. But they don't take the level of turbulence that makes you feel insecure, unloved, unlistened to, devalued. They take work, but they don't take this much work. Striking the balance between the two is hard, but we can do hard things. And if all else fails,
Just break up.